Welcome back to Amateurish Podcast. On today's episode, we will be recapping the first weekend of March Madness, or should I say Chalk Madness.
As we predicted, and as many people are saying in this new NIL era, the strength of the Power Five is the strength of the Power Five.
Yep. Today we're recording on a Wednesday, so the Sweet 16 starts tomorrow, and there are no mid-majors in the Sweet 16. It's the first time in a while that has happened. The last hope was Colorado State, which were oh so close until the freshman sensation Derek Queen hit the buzzer beater, first buzzer beater of the tournament.
Yeah, one of my things is to say our fond farewells. One of those fond farewell, two of those fond farewells are to Nico and Neek. A
Yeah,
pairing never thought we needed, but we did. Clifford showed out. If he's not a first round pick, there's something really fishy. Um, and Nico Medved traded up from Colorado State to Minnesota. He's a native of Minnesota, so maybe that
he's
makes sense.
a Minnesota grad.
Got
Home run hire for I think the Gophers. I'm surprised that he hadn't moved up from Colorado State, given all the success he's had in the past few years, developing NBA players as well with David Roddy, Isaiah Stevens, and now Nick Clifford. And the Gophers definitely needed to rejuvenate their program, so I think that's a great hire. Another big hire that we got to talk about, and team that was in March Madness was Ben McCullum and the Drake Bulldogs advancing to the second game and then losing to Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see a team that's effectively all Division two players. And some had played together, yes, so there was some chemistry they brought in with them. But what a outstanding job to get Drake. I mean, they won what 30 games this year. Um, Sturts it looks to be another first round pick, and that's got to come out of left field. I don't think if any draft guru had Sturts on their radar before this year, they are a savant
I don't even
because
think Sturts would tell you no if you told him before the season. And I mean,
100%.
so they beat Missouri, um, and then they lost to Texas Tech, and he took the job at Iowa. Sturts is testing the waters, but he's also committed to Iowa from the transfer portal. So he'll see how the NBA draft process goes. We won't talk too much about the transfer portal today, even though there's been some crazy stuff going on. That will be a separate episode, probably after the tournament, which is what the NCAA should have done. They
Yeah.
should open it after the tournament, but that's another topic for another day. So, what do you want to talk about first, I guess, from this first weekend?
Right. So I'm gonna stick with my fond farewells. We say a fond farewell to Drake. That's Drake the team, Drake the rapper. We also say a fond farewell to um, I hate to say it, but the hype on Yakionis out of Illinois. He looked badly overmatched in that second game, had a wonderful first game. He's very inconsistent. I think if you're thinking about taking him with the sixth pick, where a lot of people are, you have to be prepared for a year or two of development at least. I just think athleticism is not his forte, and every time he's matched up with a really good athlete, he doesn't. He's not as effective. And the final one is going to surprise some people, but I'm going to say farewell to the Zags. I know they're in a great position with NIL. I know they have a Hall of Fame coach. I know it's still a destination, but I don't know how many years you can knock at the door without success. And I feel terrible for Mark Few, but not everyone can win a title. And I think that his time has passed. I said that about Tom Izzo. We'll see if I was right about that. But fond farewell to the Zags.
Yeah, with KJ, I think he was just a microcosm of the Illinois all season with their inconsistency. Some days they'd beat a top 10 team, other days they'd lose by 50 in Madison Square Garden to Duke. And that's why for me personally, it was very hard to pick, their games in the tournament. And I think KJ had a real strong start to the season, but then kind of tailed off to the end with the inconsistency. And I think some of those questions surrounding his athleticism became more and more prevalent. Just watching his tape, I would probably compare him, you know, a ceiling. I don't want to say ceiling, but a pro comp would be a Josh Giddey in terms of their lack of athleticism, but playmaking. And granted, Giddy's been playing very well for the Bulls as of late, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, then regarding Gonzaga, I agree with you. I think their window is closed. If they couldn't get it done with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Suggs, I don't know what they need.
Yeah, I think if I had known Lamont Butler was healthy or was going to play, I might have chosen that game a little differently. I
The
think,
Illinois Kentucky game,
yeah, I would say that the distinction between Giddy and KJ is KJ is a better shooter now
for sure,
than
for sure.
Giddy is or will be. So I think he's got a slightly higher floor, but I understand the comparison. And I think actually Giddy's probably a little more athletic than we give him credit for. But
Yeah, and he's
I
also a bit taller. He's 6'8". But I mean, just uh, sometimes the questions about athleticism, make you wonder.
yep,
So, any more
I
fond farewells to
no
all the
more fond
majors?
no more fond farewells. I will point out that I'm pretty sure the Texas AD went into both locker rooms before the Texas Xavier game and said, "Look, whoever wins this game is the next coach of the University of Texas." Really strange bit of business there. Especially they decided to buy out Rodney Terry, who took them to the tournament. Okay, maybe he didn't get, didn't have as high a ceiling as they thought they were going to have, but they bought him out. I understand it was somewhere north of 5 million.
Yeah.
He'll get another, he'll get another shot. We'll see where, but
Do you
that was
think
just
if Texas wins that game, Rodney Terry's still coaching the Longhorns?
man. I don't know. I mean, Sean Miller's a higher profile coach. He's done more. He's well known. He's a good coach. But, Terry took over that program that was a little bit in disarray
Well,
after Smart left.
no, no,
Not
no, no.
disarray.
He did not take over after Smart. He took over after Chris Beard's allegations of domestic violence. They were very good when Rodney Terry took over. Remember they were in the Elite Eight against Miami.
Yep.
They had all that talent, and he was the interim coach, and he did well enough apparently to get the real job. But I think that was the knock on him from the jump was that it wasn't his guys, it was Chris Beard's guys, and Chris Beard, of course, is a phenomenal recruiter. And then he gets Trey Johnson, but then a lot of people are complaining that he wasted a great freshman season from Trey Johnson.
Yeah, in fairness, that squad wasn't really much deeper than Kaluma and Johnson. But
Yeah,
hey, I think he'll get another shot here, whether he
no,
has
yeah,
to
he
build.
will.
Yeah, I mean he's proved that. I think the two top teams, which we kind of both agree on right now, Duke and Florida,
Yeah,
what didn't surprise me, but was evident, was Duke's depth. You just knew, hey, they're going to wear these guys down. They're going to take over this game, and you just can't keep facing 7-footers who are mobile and guys who are experienced and a guy coming out of nowhere, Proctor, going insane from three. We haven't even seen some of their young talent. And then Florida, it's just a complete team. It has every little bit you need, and it's got a real winner in Walter Clayton.
yeah,
I think they're the top two. I'm not discounting Auburn, Houston, some of the other teams, but those two I think have kind of separated themselves.
yeah. I mean that starting out with the Florida UConn game, that was crazy. I think UConn had a game plan to perfection. I mean, that really proved why Hurley is such a good coach. They attacked Florida, switch everything defense, and they knew we're going to just have to shoot a ton of threes. Unfortunately for them, they didn't make a ton of threes. But they had Florida on the ropes for 35 minutes until, like you said, Clayton came through and saved the day. but yeah, I think Florida's experience and their completeness, as you said, are really uh, they they look like they can make a run here. Unfortunately, Duke looks like you said unbelievable. Um, they don't look as dominant as last year's UConn, but they're getting up there. I mean,
Yeah.
Baylor's no scrubs, and they wiped the floor with Baylor. And we don't even know if Cooper Flag's 100% right now.
I guess we should say a fond farewell to Norchad. You could just see Norchad. He's such a warrior. He's so passionate about the game. He is a walking double double.
Yeah,
And he just looked around and he's like, I need one other guy. I need one other
yeah,
large
yeah.
man.
Just like our guy Johnny T at Wisconsin. Those just needed one other guy. We'll get
Yeah.
into that right, but yeah, Von Farewell to Norchad Omier. I think he's second all time in double doubles in Division One. Um, of course, I think he averaged one every single year of his 5-year career. Great player. I don't know what his next step is in terms of where he'll play professionally. As a 6'7", um, not really floor spacer, but he's just a phenomenal college player. Now,
Yeah.
like I said, that Wisconsin BYU game got real spicy at the end, thanks to who should be a first team All American, John Tonji, dropping 37. But like you said, he just needed one more guy. Nobody else for Wisconsin was helping him out. Um,
Yeah.
he put the team on his back. Unfortunately, BYU, the shooting, the experience, what Coach Young has done to that program, they look dead in the water in December. But they really turned it around. Igor Demin's actually been playing pretty well for them. Richie Saunders, great player. BYU
Yeah.
could be poised to make a run here.
Well, and you saw, hey, if you don't have shooting, we see
Yeah.
what BYU has done with shooting, but we saw a team that is out already, St. John's, because they just could not shoot. And anybody who's saying Rick Pitino, who what has won darn near 900 games, two national titles, why are you questioning this coach? This coach who has resuscitated so many programs. It's a shame, and I'm not a Rick Pitino guy. And we're about to see if another team is going to get bounced because they can't shoot their way out of a paper bag. And that is another Hall of Fame coach coming out of the Big
Arkansas?
Ten. Yeah, Michigan State
Oh, Michigan
cannot.
State.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Michigan.
I think what saves Michigan State is they're deep. Frankie Fiddler's, I think he's like ninth in minutes, and you saw what he can do. Um, was it against New Mexico where he just couldn't miss? And that guy is like a reserve for them. You know, I think they're pretty deep. Um, Arkansas also can't shoot, but they could shoot slightly better than St. John's.
And they're deep.
Yeah, I mean, I think depth has really proven to be a key part of this tournament, especially when we have such a strong field with, no mid majors left. It's all power fives. I saw a stat actually, if all 8 of the favorites win in the Sweet 16 matchups, it will be the first time ever that all of Ken Palm's, like the 8 teams, best teams in Ken Palm are the Elite 8.
Oh, wow.
So it
Okay.
would be, on paper, the best Elite 8 ever in terms of talent. Maybe not storylines, but just the best 8 teams are in the Elite 8.
Yeah, it's not sexy to not pick upsets. I think we kind of shoehorned one or two in there just to have it. But we expected this. And I'm saying we're the only ones. No, but for sure. Before we leave that Florida UConn game, it came to my attention after the fact that once again, this Hall of Fame coach was punching down. I really hate when coaches, UConn was a flawed team. They lost, what, 10 games in a really bad Big East. They lost to, I think, Colorado, which is
Yeah.
playing, Colorado's playing Villanova for something called the College Crown.
College basketball crown. They're playing. It's a new tournament like the CBI or something, but it's all like Power Fives. They're playing for a $500,000 NIL prize pool. It's not
Yeah,
NIL.
and
It's just a prize pool. I mean, there's no NIL here.
yeah, and should I point out that Villanova doesn't even have a coach. Like I'm waiting for the call. Hey, come on up to Vegas, you know. Um,
Yeah, I don't know why this is even going on. It's going on like I think after March Madness too. It's like starting in April. So it's are all these teams just been practicing for a few weeks or and are those guys waiting to hop in the portal until after they can win 500,000? I mean,
yeah,
like
this
Villanova doesn't even have a coach.
yeah, and that's we were talking about doing a hot seat um podcast. I think the hot seats are all burned up.
Yeah.
Um, that that open coaching slot, which many people regard as, if not the best, one of the best. I don't understand it. If it's Kevin Willard,
It's not going to be Kevin Willard. Telling you. Telling you, man.
he's a very fine coach. He's done a lot. He's familiar with the area. I get it. I'm not inspired by the pick. If that's their end game, okay. At least they have a plan. But if they've just struck out on these guys, is it a Hail
Yeah.
Mary to Jay Wright and say, Jay, look,
This is just your pipe dream. Jay Wright is
yeah,
not coming back.
listen, that's
I
well,
mean, things aren't looking good for Villanova, especially with Rich Pitino going to Xavier. Um, they could be making two back-to-back bad hires here. It might.
I don't get it. I mean, if Patino was in the running for Villanova to take the Xavier job over the Villanova job, wow, that really speaks
What I've
volume.
heard on Twitter, and this is not, like great sources all the time. Xavier, he was in agreement to go to Villanova, and Xavier, after Chris Mack said no, offered him more money.
Okay,
Because
you
Chris Mack
know,
said, I'm staying at Charleston another year.
yeah, I would have liked to seen him at Villanova. I just want Villanova to get a coach before the portal closes because they, Eric Dixon's not walking through that door again next year, you know. And unfortunately, some players are. So I think once we tackle the portal, it'll become a little clearer. Really shocked by an early ranking that Malik Renault was only fourth in the top 25 portal entries, but that's a different story.
Yeah, we'll get into these portal rankings after March Madness because I mean there's a lot to follow right now if you're a college basketball fan, but the NCAA is not doing a good job, I think. Um, but yeah, I mean this was our kind of our mini first weekend review. Do you got anything else you want to talk about before we end
I'm
the
all good.
episode? Of course, we will probably do another review after the second weekend going into the Final Four. There'll definitely be some developments there. I mean, there could be some big storylines. We could have Arkansas first year with Cal in the Final Four. Could you imagine that?
Versus Kentucky.
Oh man, cinema.
There
But
you
yeah, we will catch y'all on the next episode. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and peace.